Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Valorant Challengers North America for our Stage 3 playoffs. 8 teams entering for the next few days to participate in our double elimination bracket, and by the end of it, one walking away with a bunch of cash, and of course, to be ending off the year strong. My name is Sierra Dawn. I'll be your host for today, and joining me on the desk, as well as being your top-notch casters for the day, I have none other than Uber and Wyatt. Hello, you guys. Also, happy Thanksgiving. Wyatt, how was it? Are you ready for some Valorant today?
Thanksgiving was fun. In fact, maybe too much fun was had.
You look great, bro. You look great.
Just had a nice, reasonable night with the friends, you know? A reasonable amount of wine, and I'm ready to cast Valorant. I feel great.
Hey, you're ready for some Valorant. That's all I'm hearing. That's all I care about. Uber, how about yourself? I mean, Challengers Stage 3. It's going to be a fun couple of days ahead.
Yeah, look, I love this time of year. I do love the off season because while there are some teams that are maybe taking their foot off the gas a little bit, there are some teams that are now debuting their new rosters for next year or just trying, some new looks entirely. Some teams are also just sticking together and trying to show, much like, G2, for example, that it's worthwhile going through multiple of these Challengers seasons as a unit to try and be forged into the quality of team that can, make it into franchising. So it's always an interesting time. The teams get a bit fast and loose, which I find a lot of fun, and there's plenty of experimentation now as, a metagame sort of shifts, and we've got Pearl back in the pool. Teams are playing Vice on Abyss. There's plenty of reason to watch, and also for these teams, a pretty handy prize pool here in Stage 3.
Yeah, talking about the teams that have made it to this point that will get to participate, there's definitely names that you will remember here. If you've been following through our Stage 2 teams, you've been following through these players' journeys, maybe teams you'll recognize, but maybe with a couple of changes, which is just a lot of fun. Really showing that expect the unexpected here when you come to this offseason, Uber.
Yeah, absolutely. And for people who are just looking at this bracket, and this is the first one you've seen, you're probably wondering how we sort of ended up with this array of teams. We actually have had a full open qualifier into a full group stage to get here to this double elimination tournament. So we've had like stage after stage after stage. Not to mention that Blue Waters, by the way, qualified up through the Premier qualification at the end of October. So this is quite a long time in the making. And these teams have already, like I said, had to fight through a pretty grueling group stage, which was quite illuminating in terms of looking at the road ahead for the known names: Winthrop, Sad Esports, YFP, TSM, and even Blue Waters to some degree. So yeah, plenty of story already written, but this is where we get serious.
I mean, when you're talking about things changing up as well, of course, these teams that are a little bit more established, swapping players in and out, figuring out what works, but it's also a really good time when you're talking about the premier team that's qualifying in, these new players that are looking to maybe prove themselves in this offseason to maybe have a little bit more stakes into next year, why they should be taken a little bit more seriously. But we're going to be starting off with 2 teams that we are familiar with to start off today's series, and we're going to be looking at YFP going up against TSM. Both teams that we did have within our challengers for our Stage 2 and earlier on. And talking about TSM first, Wyatt, this was also a team that was able to push on a little further, even though they weren't able to quite make it all the way. Though we are looking at changes now once we've entered our offseason with T-Dog and Ziff from Core entering the squad.
Yeah, we last left off seeing TSM in the end of Challengers America on that crazy run where out of nowhere they went from a middle-of-the-pack gatekeeper team that hadn't beaten any of the top teams in NA Challengers to suddenly surging past them and making it to Ascension, where they had, I wouldn't say necessarily a lackluster performance, but certainly not the performance that people were expecting from them. I think going in,
right?
Yeah, they went out in the group stage, and I think a lot of people expected them to at least make it into that 4-team little playoff bracket at the end. And since then, they made a couple changes. They bring in T-Dog and Ziff, who are on Core, who started stepping things up as well as the Challengers season progressed earlier this year. And frankly, I didn't expect this TSM roster to stay together. I didn't expect TSM to be going hard in the off-season because things were just kind of cobbled together last second when this year began. But it's cool to see that that is the development for the team. They're sticking it out. They're trying to make it work. They've got that really sick core 3. So I'm excited to see what they can do with a little bit more time.
I mean, I just think this roster is interesting because Core didn't get relegated from Challengers. They almost did, right? So they could have run it back again, but instead this team, they blow up TSM. They bring in these couple of Core players. That's supposed to be the way forward. I'm glad we get to look at this, by the way. This was
crazy.
This was in the For Those Who Dare tournament, another off-season event that happened quite recently, versus a team called Wash, which is Mocking's team, by the way. So there's some players that you might know if you sort of float around that semi-pro Valorant level. And Sim just drops 39 in regulation. Thoughts, feelings, emotions?
I tried to triple check that this was just for one game. I couldn't believe it. I mean, Sim was a player too when we have this crazy offseason. I've heard people talking about how he should be playing at higher teams, playing at higher levels. And like Wyatt, if he's showing up here in this type of form today, I mean, YFP have a load of trouble on the horizon.
Yeah, frankly, these are the kind of games where Sim can get away entirely with his play style because mechanically he can just style on the competition for the most part. What I really do want to see from TSM though, and the integration of these two players from Core, is raining back on the devil on Sim's shoulder that just has him like constantly go for every fight over peak. Like, if they can rein him back, he is a weapon. He is so good. But if you could just remove those tendencies, he will level up so much. And that's really what I'm looking for in this tournament.
I love it. We saw that big time during Ascension, right? I mean, Sim really is that kind of player. His ceiling is incredibly high, but his floor is quite low as a duelist player, I would say. And often he oscillates, somewhere in the middle and has these ridiculous games. I think one of our biggest criticisms, Sierra, about TSM was that they played so loose, right? They, that they sort of played, really didn't have a huge plan outside of the first few seconds of the round. Their coach, by the way, obviously highly respected. We love Faded. We got a great interview from him last, during the Challengers Stage 2. He's buggered off to go play coach Vitality. And then TSM says, okay, well, we still need a coach. They bring in, I think, NBS, which is Ascend's coach for like the last God knows how many years. So I'm surprised as why it said, like, TSM are definitely spending on trying to create a great roster, and not at the start of next year's Challengers, but right now in Stage 3.
Hey, get the reps in now. So I'm curious with how today is going to be going, because what they've gotten to show with this roster so far has definitely been really, really strong. But YFP, when we're talking about how these rosters are developing and stuff, this is one of the few rosters that have decided, hey, if it isn't broke, don't fix it. We're going to be working together and try and just build upon what we've done throughout Challengers Wyatt, which definitely when you're looking at a team that has really strong pieces around, giving them time to cook a little bit more and see, hey, can we end off this offseason still strong? Do we need to change for next year? Is definitely a viable strategy.
I'm excited to see more of this YFP team. They were low-key really good the second stage of Challengers earlier this year, but in stage 1 were just performing so poorly that they couldn't make up for it in time. But they left off being one of the best teams that we had, at least in that, stage 2 kind of regular season period of time. Penny was going really crazy. He was picking up the Neon before the buffs, actually, and was looking really good on that. And then they've kind of rounded it out with, you have this core of a few players that, with like Stellar, Thief Physic, these guys have played together in a million matches on various different teams, like pug teams for tournaments, different legit teams, like a lot of chemistry there with this team core.
Yeah, and this is not going to be the first time that we really get to see YFP perform in this offseason, but of course, when we're looking at what the teams have been up to, there's definitely been a lot of offseason stuff going on, and they've been putting in the work with results to show. I mean, we got to see them in the Red Bull home ground, making it through the qualifications with some strong victories. That missing label, the one loss you see on the graphic here, was the Sentinels, a 1-2 loss there. And then, of course, qualifying in a pretty strong fashion. So, Uber, they have been putting in the work, so I'm excited to see them just hit the ground running for today.
Yeah, I generally expect a lot of this team. I think YFP are really solid. That result against TSM, by the way, for Red Bull Holograms, I think they were playing with Exalt and Inspire, so not the TSM roster that you're seeing right now. Getting that map off Sentinels, pretty awesome stuff. That MXS result is interesting because, MXS have also, while we're not seeing them here, they actually didn't qualify. They got grouped in this tournament. They've gone for a very new look themselves. So, YFP able to get past them. Obviously, that's still a very quality outfit. We won't have a chance to talk about them because they ain't here. But No, I expect this team to look really good. I think we're going to be looking very closely at TSM and going, right, what has this rebuild done for you? You know, presumably with Poised leaving this roster, T-Dog is going to call. Now, he's a lightning rod for criticism, right? This player is always really outspoken. He was very outspoken on Twitter after their recent performance here. But he's going to be the one that's calling. Is, you know, the new coach addition plus T-Dog, is that going to add that maybe structure to TSM that they were lacking? Or is it like a different direction they're looking to go in? And maybe we're just hyper-fixating on like a lack of structure because they had this loose puggy style, even at Ascension. Maybe it's something else that they've really looked to try and drill down on. But they've got the same things that have made them good and allowed them to make that run at the end of Stage 2, into playoffs, into relegations. 7 still here, Sim still here. The core is very, very solid.
Yeah, I honestly cannot wait to see how this is all kind of coming together, and if it was just a little bit of, you know, little honeymoon phase for the team, or going on forward, how everything's going to click for TSM. Talking about the maps for today, this is also going to be a little interesting. Obviously, looking at a change from Stage 2 to Stage 3. We're all back in the mix, and as well with changes to the team, what are we really going to be expecting here? Too bad, but
it's a damn shame if I'm being honest. Just that,
I mean,
that map, and TSM, they've done us all a favor. It's gone. Thank you, TSM. No, the first map pick, getting on Sunset, that should be a banger. That's the map that YFP beat Sentinels on, and that's the map where Sim dropped 39 kills in regular time on that stat sheet that we just showed during the qualification to get into this playoff stage. So I think that already sets us up a nice stage to see both teams at their best.
This is basically both teams getting what they want out of this draft entirely. TSM always ban Abyss. They always want to try and pick Haven, so I guess they don't get that. YFP are actually like banning out a good map for TSM. YFP have just been banning. They've banned a different map almost every series we've seen from them, like in the last 3 or 4. So I don't actually know what their permaban is. I just know they want to play Ascent. So they get Ascent. They managed to take Haven away from TSM. They get Sunset, which feels like it could be a coin flip here, and a split map that we've already seen them beat MXS on. That's YFP I'm talking about. So I feel like that's gone pretty well for them there. A lot is going to come down to the Sim effect on Ascent. We know how jet-centric that map can be, right? We know how important it is to really get rolling and have a great defense side, and how you can, springboard off that into trying to finish out the map. So I'm happy with this. If you want the best way to assess these two teams at their best right now, we've pretty much got it.
Hey, what better way to be kicking off the quarterfinals here of Challenger Stage 3? That's what I'm talking about. In the Sunset, I wish this was a decider map because I feel like this is going to be absolutely crazy. But we'll talk a little bit more about this one because it's really interesting with the, hey, obviously we know what Sim's capable of this map. That's what we highlighted at the top of show with the crazy stats we had to triple check. But the fact that YFP also proficient on it, Uber, I think that's kind of really interesting. And I think maybe a little bit of momentum going into this because YFP, I mean, they've built up for a while, and we're now going to see this TSM that with this little rebuild, like how much they can push ahead against a team that maybe the mental won't be shaken.
And honestly, the comps are very different between these two teams on Sunset, at least what we saw most recently from YFP. We know TSM want to play like Fade Bridge plus the Neon. Like that is the look they've been really pushing for here. Whereas on the YFP side, they're still playing Raze on this map. They're playing like the Breach Sova still, right? Which to me feels like a little bit more standard, right? So we've seen Raze players still find great success here. There's no reason, no one saying you have to play the Neon. For Raze, it feels like you can do a little bit more in these early rounds than just make space and get traded. It also gives you like the contingency of being able to blast pack out of fault lines and like have an answer to sometimes to the trap plays. You can get out of jail free, and obviously opening these sites up with Showstopper is very good. When you're trying to hit that A site, force the defenders back in towards spawn, smoke it off, and then force them into a full retake. Something that Neon can't necessarily do, on her own. So something worth keeping an eye on here. I'm very happy to see this here. I want to see what TSM have done. How quickly are they developing with this new look? We already talked about it here, but I think a lot of people wondered like what the idea is with the T-Dog and Ziff pickup. Ziff, by the way, with the most disgusting clutch I've ever seen in Challengers on this very map. When he's in like a 1v3 over on the B side, he's playing from lobby and he just swings and kills all 3 defusing players, from the defense side. So it was like stage 1. I'm thinking way back here, but it's still stuck in my mind. The guy was absolutely cracked that series.
The dusty tomes. Ziff is a pretty underrated player. Ziff is a pretty underrated player. He has been low key very good in tier 2 for years at this point. Like all the way back to like playing on the Knights team like many years ago. He's legit been very good the entire time, but has never really been in a position actually outside of that team to display his skills at a higher level, even within tier 2. It's kind of been floating around that like lower mid tier, and this a good opportunity to get back up at the top.
100%. I mean, when there was a lot of criticism for TSM last year, to see these changes and how it's clicking, definitely very optimistic for that. We'll have to see how they're going to perform against this YFP squad. First, a quick break for a little snack, little refreshment. We'll be right back.
through with it again. They know that I got spirit with a pen. Don't know why they try to compete when they know that in victory it's never gonna end. Them and a week, that's why they could never speak. They ain't like me, I take it to the peak. Different type of steeds that I breed. Wheel up on the mic, they won't get one of these. Please, I don't wanna hear no talk from them. I don't wanna see nothing at all from them. They can't do it like me. So all I wanna see really is a round of applause from them. Vibes in the air, we cause it again. Life isn't fair, but we rode it again. All of my teams being ready for the war, there's no warning for them. Tell them again, I ain't here to make up no friends. I just came through yet again. We look, you never got one of them. Top of the pound yet again. They can't stop this child not again. Reigning champ, I won't lose it. So you know I'm gonna win that again. Tell them again. Tell them again.
Are you guys ready for some gameplay? Are you sick of sitting in chat asking casters when we're going to start the game?
One more timer. One more.
Exactly.
The people are begging and pleading, please.
Yeah, the shoulder devil, just like Sim's shoulder devil, the one that wants to set thrusters to warp feed, definitely gave me the idea to run another timer. But we're back. We're jumping into Sunset here. And again, we've got the kind of comps that we talked about. So not huge difference. It's really just the Sova and Faye difference between scan agents. Interestingly, though, Penny's actually on the Neon. We usually saw YFP up until this point mostly play Raze on this map. So they are making some adjustments. I'm curious to see how it plays out.
Yeah, it is just taking one step closer to the standard meta right now because Neon, broken agent. So I've heard. So I've heard rumblings about that recently. And Penny, I had mentioned this in the pre-show, but Penny was playing Neon, one of the few people doing it in Challengers, back in Stage 2 before the buffs even. And that YFP team, they were really good at just deathballing up, playing around him, giving him a ton of breach util. So I pretty much expect him to be even better coming into this, honestly. But that being said, we are coming off of the Sim dropping 39 kills in a regular time game on this map. So I'll see if that's actually going to be the case. Stiff competition on the other end from the TSM duelist.
Yeah, the economy and birth rate on Sunset is still not recovered from that absolute disaster that we witnessed. So, see how it plays out. TSM start on defense here. And of course, just some probing. One way here is Sim is going to try and play off that fault line, and YFP look to respect that as well. You notice the spikes starting to drift in that B direction here. Obviously, a new look B main, less of that sort of post-plant spam down available to you. It's going to be Sim getting picked off, who asks for a little too much A-long.
Yep, Sim moment already. And in the meantime, YFP have gotten some control of B main. They were just playing a 2-1-2, monitoring all extremities on the map, and they're really leaving themselves open here with a minute left to work back to A if necessary. You can see Thief pressing up, getting a little bit of space. Physic was down mid as well.
Oh, okay. Thief goes for an explore here. Ziff actually takes up that position previously left clear by Sim.
Ooh,
with 40 seconds left, we're going for a late rotate after getting picked off in towards elbow. So this is YFP trying to anticipate TSM pulling off A.
This is a good call right now from Stellar, who presumably is their IGL, was the IGL for 100 Thieves for a long time when they were in franchising, but they've slowed down, and it looks like TSM are going to beat them to the punch. Fellas, there's 20 seconds left. We gotta go.
Zip under a lot of pressure here. Wyatt able to tuck around the corner, try and buy a couple of extra seconds. That's also what that aftershock was for. And Penny gets ahead of it. Doesn't get a 2v1 swing, though, and Seven's able to take him down. 6 seconds left in the round. Spike still inside elbow, and there's no chance of blocking it. What is going on? Brother, ooh, please. Oh, goodness. Well, TSM take the first round. P-Pistol to win here.
At least Jake got a couple ult orbs, I suppose. That's not even really a consolation prize. But he does actually have some cash to buy up a Guardian because of the kills. And they're going for the Force, YFP. And I'm not mad at it. I am mad at this stuff. It was a really good call to double back to A. You know, they read that TSM would have drifted multiple players over to B when losing their Cypher there. If they just hit the gas and went quickly, they would have had the site for free. But yeah, here's the Force buy. We're all grouped up in B main, just ready to explode onto the site.
All right, here's that Fast lane going to be thrown down. Penny wastes no time in getting the side. 74 there on the backside, but Gimon activates on the left. It's going to be a betrayed here.
What?
Just looking for a moment to emerge off the fault line. Is able to find one. Jake dived to a trap wire, I guess.
Huh?
Yeah, you saw it. Okay.
What is happening? I mean, we're for 2 rounds in, and this game is already off the rails. Penny gets caught trying to push into Boba, trying to find the advantage. Stellar now in a 1v2. He's got the info on one player. Wants to isolate this 1 versus 1. Not given a chance to.
Spike to hand at the moment, but T-Dog able to accost him. Stellar falls here, and I'm glad TSM already bucking the scrappy allegations here in the first couple of rounds on Sunset.
Abilities, they don't kill in Valorant. That's what I've heard. What even goes on with this report? So Jake is like pushing. I mean, what is happening, man? We're 2 rounds in. 2 rounds in.
Yeah, on the face, and again, like it's a retake that long flank through there from 7, and if I'm not mistaken, Stella's the one that sort of gets caught. So it ends up becoming something a little bit more standard towards the end of the round. But that obviously is YFP unsuccessful in that second round now with a Bucky to hand for Penny, and even a Stinger purchased up here for Stellar. And it's a big explore into mid with a smoke top mid. So TSM a little
standing ahead.
Just full contact, already a little sink of utility there. It was a recon and a flash to explode through top mid. This is really nice from YFP at the moment, but Penny fully blinded up. Jake able to capitalize regardless, and they're into the B site.
And he's got a decent weapon to hand now as well. Bulldog picked up for Penny, and this site is covered with YFP players. There's a double stack over towards Bobby here, and Thief was holding the angle in towards Market. Surely has to know about this probing here from Gimon. In come TSM though, grouped up as 3 via Market. Thief sees the Bucky, thinks absolutely not. And now it's going to be a little bit of a post plant set up for YFP there over towards B main. One-way smoke going to be thrown down now. Thief is crucial here and anchoring in this site. Wicked Sheriff, busy. Good time in there. Able to come out of Market, find an easy one now. It's him. A Vandal to hand here. TSM trying to lock it down. Sim needs to take a fight like this. He's able to beat Penny out at it. Fault line here to center, who's going to play off of it. Maybe from Market. It's Sim that slides straight into the path of that Stinger. And time is short. Gimon ain't going anywhere. And Stellar will fall over there in main as TSM fight for it. And Gimon doesn't have the opportunity for a defuse.
That was a really cool strat that came out from YFP there. Just slowly contacting up mid, not making a sound. That dark cover that they place at top mid, obscuring the view onto them. And then they send that little synced up flash recon with Neon's wall to explode out of the smoke if someone was close. Penny's got the Bucky there. And then they just have additional utility with the recon bolt pushing into Boba together with Penny and Jake. That was a very cool play. And it's got TSM's economy in the bin. It was a rough couple rounds for YFP to open things up, but that was a great way to turn the momentum early.
Leaving like the players anchored in the side of the post plant, I think it was pretty tough for TSM to dig them out.
Yeah.
Hitting out into that 4th round here. No real presence over at A. TSM obviously with that gamble stack off this site primarily will allow YFP to slowly edge in.
Yeah, I don't want to ramble on too much about this. I think we'll see it play out more, but a consequence of the new layout of the B site is that if you're protecting it as a Cypher, you have to put both your trips in the site, so you don't have an info trip for top mid in a situation like that anymore. If you're intending on anchoring fully, but
spike planted.
Regardless, YFP, they get the site for free, set up with the counter utility when TSM try to flood back in.
Zim has a Guardian. Going to start making his way over towards A main, but there is a tripwire that will have to be cleared. Physic not actually holding that line, maybe just as well. Moves away from that fault line. It's going to be Thief taking down Sindo. That was the big weapon now being dropped away. Some pressure TP back there from Gimon, and now the pressure actually coming in from Link here by the defenders, but it's really just a Stinger, the best weapon they have to hand. So I'd be happy, I think, to perish with the spike at this stage, and Penny would love to build up that ultimate here. Let's pick on T-Dog inside the smoke, able to find one. And YFP will move off the site here. Risk of being accosted by the defenders, but they're happy to stay put. And there it is. YFP convert, obviously, off that crucial round 3.
Retaining most of those weapons, getting the economy rolling here as well. Just a nice, simple round from them. Textbook stuff. And now on a critical one, they have a bunch of ults to play with.
This goes here.
Stellar probably going to try to fight for one of these orbs to get the Rolling Thunder, in addition to the few that they've already got.
Ooh. This is how obviously that round went down. TSM were looking to go for it. I think as soon as they lose Sim, though, they realize it's not worth it. T-Dog just gets an exit out of that smoke, and then that's basically all there is to write home about in that round.
Yeah, and listen, he can definitely shoot, but we're right back into it. Penny going so fast, all the way into the smoke. Oh my god. Maybe should have gone down.
He's able to get away at least though from that recon bolt. It will be Jake falling. Now TSM able to maintain this presence over towards the link direction. Penny is going to be allowed into the site here, but takes his corner, and 7 gets melted down. Yvonne's had in spawn here. Neural Theft might be something to play off of here, and Penny with a big old overheat trying to get control of that part of the map. TSM already setting up for this retake. T-Dog chopping at the bit to get in, and he challenges the Cypher Cage. Seeing at least gets one off that tray, but it's a little bit ugly. Now fast lane thrown up. Sin says, okay, I'm ready to throw down with my ultimate.
Standing.
Oh, it's had a rough couple of rounds, I won't lie. What can Zip do here? We've got players obviously with the crossfire, and Thief is eventually able to challenge it. Oh, buddy, YFP, we'll take it away.
That was a really nice utility at the end there from Stellar, just supporting his teammates, playing back in A main. Nicely done, and then Thief playing from elbow. If there's one thing Thief can do, it's definitely shoot. And a lot of people, if you remember, way at the beginning of the year, were wondering why this guy was getting dropped from MXS, because mechanically, individually, he's pretty goddamn sick. I mean, he comes up really big here, has that good support again from Stellar, shuts down Sim again. YFP looking really good. TSM back on the eco.
The one way actually challenged instantly from YFP, but they don't do much more than deploy that cam, which will obviously be illuminating for Thief in a pinch. Gonna tell him all he needs to know for the time being, though. Now,
my ult's ready.
He'll go to set up towards market. No actual anchoring presence here for TSM on B. Their weapon is a little bit suspect as well. Might be a dark cover over towards, yeah, that one-way position there in B main. But YFP still gonna want to try and push past this.
In the meantime, Thief has that trip placed in the standard spot over at the A extremity, which is where Sim is going exploring. And because of that, you can see the rotation now from TSM. They're gambling over towards B with Sim, getting all of that info.
And Nightfall going to be thrown about the defenders. Also paranoia in, but Penny's able to get ahead of all of it. Bobline actually going to catch him out. Rolling thunder for the attackers now. Zip's going to be caught in that corner, and Jake's able to pick him off easily. So much invested against a weaker buy from TSM, and it's maybe just as well. 7 did get a Vandal to hand and is able to use it to find one. Spike is loose. Rolling thunder from the defenders here. A chance to capitalize, but he's got his way up mid early in the round, Wyatt, and now TSM only have Sim to work with the Sheriff from B main. We're still pre-plant here, but there's really nothing TSM can do.
Thief is going off right now. He's playing very well. And like you said, a lot invested from YFP against just an eco buy, but used intelligently. Stellar realizing in that moment that he had to hit the Rolling Thunder because things were just getting way too scrappy with TSM stacked up in the site. So he uses the ultimate, expends it. It's pretty bad feeling when you have to do that against players with classics, but it would feel a lot worse to actually lose that round. So ult well spent in my mind.
Yeah, 7 also ulted, but they didn't realize Thief had gotten up mid and behind them.
Nowhere to run!
All right, here's Alice Fury from Physic, hoping for a push up here by TSM. They get 7, but he already claimed his pound of flesh as Penny falls on that early challenge. Cyber Cage over towards Link here, and TSM getting set up. This is their buy here. 3 players stacked in towards spawn, and of course those trips here are on the A side for Thief.
Paranoia to try to fight forward. Thief trying to find an opening onto the site, but it's just everyone lit up from the haunt.
Tripwire destroyed.
And there's still 2 trips on the site. That wasn't even a spray down off a kill trip. Stellar, you've got to be in deep trouble. Sim chooses his moment now to go forward, and it's down to Physic with 40 health and a double stack that he just defeats with a swish of the wrist. Unreal. 4K for Physic, and another buy for TSM is sent packing.
You have got to be joking, man. How are they getting away with this right now? That is nasty from Physic, and yeah, the new
40 health, Wyatt.
The new coach of TSM NBS, he knows that it's time to take a little time out. Things are getting very out of hand. I thought that was a haunt that came over the top, but I would love to see that on a replay, because now I'm like, wait, yeah, I was like, wait, was that the trip actually that lit them up? Because obviously the kill trips right now, while, you know, Cypher still very good, especially on Sunset, regardless of the Cypher being nerfed and the map being worse.
No, it's off a horn. It's off a horn. Like Fade gets assists in both of those kills on the spray through. So there's just so much info for the retake. Horn comes down, pings 2, sorry, and then you still have the tripwires in the site like midway through the fight, which means that, I mean, I don't know how YFP were going to, or rather TSM were going to extricate themselves from that situation. I mean, they should have. All I'm saying, TSM were in a very good place. Physic with 40 health, just able to spray a quasi high-low setup down. Probably shouldn't be happening.
Yeah, pretty wild. I mean, Physic as well, individually on point, and not one of the players that you look at as he's a quality player because of his mechanics. He's just not that kind of player. He's a more cerebral player. That's the value that he adds to the team. Right now, he is shooting as well.
And he's already gotten into market, but straight away he's going to eat a paranoia, and Gimon just, well, takes a free kill, essentially. Backs up behind it. That's big momentum stopped here for YFP. They are congregating over towards B main and might look to challenger. Jake's already TP'd onto the site, and he really wants to get ahead of this high-low setup inside market. It's a 1-for-1. Zip sees it all with that camera now and is trying to play out from that cyber cage. But Seven's embedded now. Just Thief and Jake left to work with, one inside the cyber cage, the other outside. TSM so proactive on that hold. Really wanted to anchor in that side.
Right out of the timeout, being able to halt the momentum, just flooding onto those YFP players. So much confidence from them. That was really well done. Definitely credit to NBS for calling the timeout at the right time and then getting them back in the game immediately.
I will find you.
And again, the economy here is in the balance for YFP. They're able to buy up and no real sort of big ultimates on the table here, so a lot depends on their first few moments in this round. Again, customary camera thrown out there by Thief is going to be cleared, and into mid for YFP.
T-Dog and Zip just posted up together towards market as the dark cover phase. TSM as well, ready with 2 players top mid, jump spotting aftershock is well placed, forces Physic out, caught by 7. At least Jake gets that trade though. For YFP, things slowing down.
Thief takes a wide angle that Gimon's able to deal with him there. And that's that A presence essentially neutralized. YFP down to just 3. Gimon's shoulder peeking that corner. Gimon, who of course has a dark cover to potentially renew a one-way if he wants to, but he realizes that might leave him a little exposed. So back up to the site. TSM trying to hedge on where they need to be. Sim sat in spawn ready to motor over to the site that gets tested.
A few seconds ago, Jake sent a dark cover top mid, so trying to feign presence there as they just silently contact through elbow into this A site. Gimon might have an opportunity to get one stunned up though. What in the hell? What? How does he hit that? That's a nasty shot.
Able to reposition now as well, but doesn't have a TP to get away from that aftershock, so he does get caught. Great util here from Stella. Jake goes able to punish, been put under pressure multiple times this round. Looking to try and make something happen, and Stella gets that plant down, but it's going to be in a 1 versus 3. TSM get yet another.
They just play to the advantage, having more players for the retake. But that shot from Gimon was crazy. That was well set up from the remaining YFP players to actually find a kill, even the numbers 3-3. The stun onto him, Penny sliding in. That is a 99% chance guaranteed kill for a Neon. I can't believe that Gimon hit that. That was a just sickening shot.
TSM have been able to claw this game back pretty drastically after YFP put 5 rounds down in a row. Gimon, so good here. I mean, this is always kind of what we expect from this player. Very, very clutch. He's hit there by a fault line, and he's still able to take Penny down, who should have an inherent advantage sliding through for the kill. It was not to be. We'll get headed to round number 10 now with a game that is starting to approach parity. TSM with the better weapons as well. YFP at least have to get 1 Vandal and a shot for Penny.
Right now, YFP, though, they're going right into the utility stack of TSM, and Sim able to find that first.
TSM really want to stake their claim to this part of the map, and they play off the utility beautifully. Sim tries to dive past that one way with the shorty. Doesn't find value. It's going to be Thief to clean him up. Jake now, of course, realizing the defenders have actually filtered through behind him, is able to find 7, and now Kimono's going to be caught out in the open. Help is on the way, but it's a little bit too late. Jake is low, but caught with a knife in hand, and now Thief has to make it happen. Wanted to go for the spike, but it's caught inside that C's, and Zip will be able to bring him down.
TSM were just perfectly set up for that. You never want to be the team on attack side Sunset going for the quick A rush, but you run into that triple setup where you have one player elbow, one playing that left side of main, and then you have your breach in sight with the stun set up with a flash ready to go, and you're getting hit with a relay bolt, and there's a paranoia. You're just cooked. They ran into the setup that is drawn up to do exactly that through fast A push.
TSM just love to throw down early. They might even do the same here. Look over towards A long yet again. A main rather. Paranoia thrown out for TSM, get that early control. Sim also deep into mid, trying to work some kind of pincer. Gets brought down on the collapse, but still you've got 2 TSM players push awfully far forward, and they're able to deal with Thief as he tries to peek out. Here comes a reprisal though from YFP. They are quickly trying to catch TSM, who again will want to fight around this dark cover. Kimon looks over towards that little gap. It's going to be T-Dog finding yet another as Jake is brought down inside the dark cover. They tried to go with an Aldrin over the top, and finally YFP win it out. It is TSM who come off second best there.
Yeah, TSM were really set up to capitalize there off the dark cover that GMD intelligently placed in the heat of the moment there. The shock dart, pretty unfortunate for him. Stun comes through, 7 trying to get some space created for Zip.
They're embedded in the side of YFP, but it's going to be tough. Penny, I like this flank timing. Beautifully done. Oh, YFP emerged in that situation. Nicely
Last
done.
Round in the half.
Penny able to wrap around here and really break that defense setup.
Hey, listen, you said it. TSM like going for those early round aggressive plays. They sent it multiple players down A main with the breach stun coming from market through tiles, so you could have Sim rush down as well, all the way through mid. A cool attempt that, frankly, should have worked out. That just came down to missed shots from T-Dog when the players from YP were pushing through that dark cover, and GMD too low, succumbing to the shock dart. Just unfortunate. They played the round really well.
Yep.
But it's an FPS game.
Jake. He got Jake through the dark cover, right? So was able to spray him down if I'm not mistaken. But here's that Neon now really turning up again. I mean, relay bolt thrown here in towards Boba. Penny's able to wrap around through mid. The elusive B split here. Coming out on Sunset finally. Ziff eventually able to slow it down, but the cost has been dear. Caught out in the open is Ziff. Gordon knows it's going to be 7 in market, who has to go absolutely nuts here. Stella, though, will put him to bed, and YFP extend their lead again.
This YFP team have some very cool set stuff that they're bringing into this game right now. A couple of these big executes. Typically looks like it's, on the rounds that are involving the ultimates, they're using them in some more creative ways. That was a really cool pincer onto the B site, with Penny flanking all the way up through top mid, and then meanwhile the Hunter's Fury comes through to distract. Those anchors just getting hit from all angles. We'll see if YFP are cooking up similar stuff on the defense. TSM surely, they certainly had a whole lot of that themselves. We will have to see.
Whichever way you slice it, Wyatt, it's been a really scrappy first half here on Sunset. Both of these teams have really wanted to throw down. And I do respect the idea of TSM not wanting to have to play for retake, right? But obviously that introduces a level of volatility that you can't always control. You can't always hold the reins in that situation.
Gotta go.
Might be a pretty straightforward B hit here though, Wyatt. We're eventually going to have, Physic looking to reinforce in through market, but it's a late play in market, which allows him to cross here. Get that dark cover in place. TSM set up here in a position to try and plant. He wants to push up after shock as well. It's going to be a problem for the players behind his side. And 7 brings Physic down. Nice start here, but eventually Penny just turns up and finds 2. Sliding his way through. Still should be a plant here for Zip. Kimon has to take this challenge head on. What was that? That is ridiculous. Kimon has to salvage in a 1 versus 2. It comes up clutch.
He's so aware that Jake was going to come late through market as well. Really nicely done from a player that is mega experienced, has been competing at a high level in NA since the game was in beta, and has really been the foundational element of this TSM squad all year long. It has just been their most consistent player, alongside Seven as well. Massive credit to him. It's those two that have kept this team playing at a pretty high level throughout this entire year of Challengers.
Gotta go.
Early bot line to play off TSM again. Fast it to be. Immediately, Thief just gives up the site. Knows that it's not worth fighting for solo. A little spray here through the dark cover now as YFP set up and might look to just straight up flood through these smokes. They've really only got classics to work with. Now looking to get in position. Thief is very low.
There.
Classics aside from the old neon Bucky. Like, what nightmares are made of.
Thief here going to bide his time. Relay bolt thrown out in the both directions. T-Dog getting ready for a bit of a push. Penny tries to get towards him there with that Bucky. Gets a good amount of damage, allows for a trade at the very least. But with this part location here, TSM are more than happy to take contact out in the open. I like that TP across though. We're going to see a left-right swing here towards main. But the weapons truly favor TSM. And there's just not much YFP can do about it.
Yeah, they just play that textbook TSM and capitalize off the better weaponry. Not much more needs to be said about that. But here's YFP in the buy round. Economy fully on the line. Didn't do a whole lot of damage to TSM either. So this is where TSM can really not just get the lead, but extend the lead by maintaining that economic advantage in the future.
Here.
Right now, I know that TSM has obviously only brought a couple of rifles into this round. 7 with a Guardian. Might be able to put a decent amount of pressure on them here in those preceding 2 rounds. Sim there, things to go forward. Was hoping maybe to bait a push that T-Dog would be able to capitalize on. Instead, something that looks much more like a default here for TSM with no attempt to take control of mid early.
Things slowing down. It's YFP playing pretty passively on this. They didn't opt to go for anything in terms of early round aggression, or really just pushing either extremity for information. They're content just trying to anchor in the sites, double trips on B. Again, this site has become more difficult for a Cypher to hold. It's pretty awkward that you can't trip up main anymore, that it allows that space for a Neon to get in. And you can see Thief has, the trips placed, though, where if a Neon's getting too deep, if you're trying to fight back site, you're going to get caught up on the one towards stairs.
Just like the market crossfire for like back B and market as defenders is really hard to pull off. But Stellar, that is beautiful. That is
what a shot.
Pretty textbook stuff, folks. Yeah, just around the outside of that one way there. Paranoia also thrown to further dissuade TSM, and they're going to try and go in through elbow here. Penny forced to the left. Aftershocks coming out from both sides here. What was that? How is he not getting caught by it? Maybe he doesn't see it. Stella, though, falls back to the side, and they're ready for it. Dimon tries to make his way through, and now it's up to 7, and Zip grouped up here in elbow, who have no choice but to step out and face the music. I've seen Zip do dirty things on this map, but it's too much to ask this time around. Stella exits the round with 4 kills, and YFP get 1 back.
Stellar is looking genuinely excellent right now. I wanted to point it out prior, even before he just steps up, gets a 4K, hits that sick first blood shot onto Sim. His utility has been fantastic. Look at the way he was supporting Penny there while Penny was caught in the seas, just trying to stay alive towards elbow. I think that people might be right. Mitch, 100 Thieves might just be a cursed story. they may just be right, that the Redditors are right.
I mean, it is pretty crazy that Stella's fighting at this tier of player, right? We've seen what he's capable of. Jake there deals with Sim. It's going to be TSM still with a buy to work with here. Running it straight down on the A side. They don't have link control, and Jake's been anchoring admirably. Penny comes in and lights them up. T-Dog and Zip go the way of the Dodo. And Gimon in 1-4. Has to go huge. Great start there. Now the TP forward leaves him vulnerable, though, not expecting a third player to swing. Always the third that gets him. YFP get their second round in a row, and that's the economy of TSM. Kind of blown up.
I can't be certain that he was trying to get that second shot onto Penny. Don't think he was, but happy to collect it. A valiant effort. YFP do a nice job just finding the moment to hit the button of aggression. Penny with the ultimate popped. The classic Neon loadout. Just running around with the lightning gun, and then you also have the Bucky. Just the state of the game is really summarized by a round like that.
I mean, it does wonders for your personal economy.
Yeah.
Having to purchase such a expensive weapon into a round like this. Kind of similar to Jet's Blade Storm, I guess, except Neon's a little bit more busted overall. Should be easy. The fast lane here, but obviously seem to get into the site. It's hard to hold. As we were saying before, hard to hold from market in a crossfire now. So Stellar and Thief not bothering with it. Set up at the back side for Thief. Well, there's no chance for Stellar to capitalize. The spacing is just a second off there for YFP. If the TSM get in, that aftershock though is going to make it hard to push further into Boba. 7 definitely takes a bit of a tickle here. He doesn't have much of a weapon to work with. And Physic brings Sim down. YFP now pull off the side a little bit outside of Jake, who's in there and amongst it. Puts the attackers at a player advantage now until Stellar equalizes things with that market control. See if has the timing here. Physic doesn't know about it. He sees Stellar just get blown up, and now he knows he's good for one here, surely. The defuse hanging in the balance. And there it is. Physic and Penny still put it to bed. Find that defuse, but that round was looking a little sassy for YFP.
Sim just couldn't find the timing there. He was so close to it. You could see in moments Penny was aware that someone definitely could be trying to flank from top mid, but then eventually just outpaced Ziff, who didn't want to reveal himself by making any noise running behind them. A lot of these rounds, frankly, are just coming down to gun duels. Like, YFP are just shooting better right now. I mean, actual basic berry analysis, elementary school analysis. But like in situations like that, there are just too many duels that are going the way of YFP, like T-Dog fighting Penny there when Neon's wall is up. Like, yeah, it's just situations like that where YFP are getting kills where they're not favored, but the players are in very good form.
Yeah. You saw Jake there as well. I think he's like the only player in the site for YFP during that hit. The rest of them playing out towards Marcus Boba, and you know, he runs into a dark cover, try and take a fight, ends up sort of losing it out. Really volatile. This is what we were saying beforehand. And honestly, look at the streak of rounds won and lost. I think that also speaks to it. Not many of these defense rounds won by defuse. Very few of them obviously have sort of ended in such a fashion. So yeah, these post plants, both teams are really trying to get ahead of them, avoid them entirely.
Got another timeout called from NBS, the new coach of TSM. And when he did that in the first half, TSM went on a streak immediately after. You saw them begin to mix in all of those defensive aggression rounds.
The Ryota timeout, baby.
No, it is the Ryota Zeta Game Changers narrative. But listen, we'll begin the narrative if TSM immediately win this round.
Bro, I will editorialize. My moral fiber is not that strong. I'm more than happy to walk that path with you in terms of the narrative.
Leap into the narrative. Oh, well, wow, it's actually YFP that's like, whatever they're planning out of that timeout, we're just going to throw a wrench in the works, go for the mid-round Hunter's Fury, but ends up going awry.
Yeah, Sim got into market. That's the big difference maker here. Throws up a fast lane and won't actually be visible. The only player here is Sim caught by that fault line, but no opportunity to capitalize on it. Thief, though, not bothered about market for the time being. Apparently, just takes both fights in B main. Now the spike is loose and it's up to Sim, who was in a great spot early in the round. Now that it's looking a little bit more questionable, and this is where you start to fear that YFP run away with the game.
Yeah, the why did MXS drop Thief posters are thriving right now. Vindication. He's actually going crazy. He plays that situation so well, has the cage pop behind him so Sim can't shoot him in the back from market.
30 seconds left.
Just beats the timing on the stun to take the second duel. He's really on point. Has outright won maybe 3 rounds at the moment for YFP.
Go, go, go.
And they've been crucial ones, especially as we had a 7-5 half with TSM winning the pistol. Sim's out of here, of course.
10
he himself
seconds left.
just really doesn't have, or they themselves rather, doesn't really have any money to be going on with. The rest of his teammates can sort of buy. 250 credits is a little bit of a grim sign, so see the round end here. YFP able to once again look at where the red X's are. Folks, TSM gets stopped in their tracks, and then Hunter's Fury off the rip is a big part of it.
The TSM do, temporarily at least, nullify that aggression from YFP. Sim caught a player top mid as well while that was going on. But I think it was a cool call to do something mid-round, highly disruptive to whatever TSM were intending on doing out of the timeout. It's just a good way to, throw some disarray in their camp.
Yes, this should do.
Can we get to a post-game without talking about YFP just being better shooters? I don't think we can.
No, I don't think we can.
Because they're just taking They're just taking challenges like up on the map in the A and B sides respectively, anchoring 3 players there and just fighting. And it's worked brilliantly for them here. It's really tested TSM's protocols, I think, to the very limit. They've lost 4 rounds in a row here.
I like how YFP have opted to play the mid part of the map on this round. They were set up for a big trap play if TSM were there. They weren't. So then Jake just walks down mid, able to get into Petra. I think we're calling it that, right? I believe we're calling that Petra, right? All right,
I am so GC pilled, it's not funny.
No, it really is. So.
Yeah, that is a dirty spot. Petra with 2 back-to-back rounds, or rather, I think 2 3Ks in the space of 3 rounds from that spot. She was a nuisance in that game. So, tentatively here for TSM. On the A side, and this is actually a rare moment where YFP won't be able to fight ahead of this util. Thief has been incredible. In that last round, he anchored the B side and got 2 kills in lane. I think he'll have to give this up. The Rolling Thunder might also incentivize a backup here from the defending Cypher. Trapwire, no chance to really play off of it either. Demon TPing up onto those boxes.
Yeah, no real ultimates. I mean, no ultimates from YFP to get back into this. A lot of it will come down to this flank fight. If Ziff can hold off Jake and Physic right now, does get the first and just lives. That's all he needed to do.
Yeah, elsewhere though, Thief able to bring Sim down. Penny now starting to get a little bit busy with it. Gimond on that side properly. Penny does get marked out though. Awkward timing there. Yep, Flash gonna claim Stella. Nice setup there by 7. Puts us in a 2 versus 2. A T-Dog very, very low. Penny's gonna come forward now, and Physic though was watching the whole time over towards Spawn. And YFP with yet another shutdown. That felt like one of TSM's best chances to try and slow the roll of YFP running away with it. And bear in mind, this is a TSM map pick. YFP got what they wanted with the Scent coming up next.
Absolutely. YFP have been, they've just been fantastic on this map. This is the map they beat Sentinels on recently, and it's been really good for TSM. So, totally understand why they picked it. But YFP are just damn good. And TSM are, frankly, they're playing well. Like, they played that entire situation on A well. They had the spike planted where they could reposition players over towards defenders' spawn and still fight the spike from there. They did that. But again, they're like, at the end of the day, they're just not winning out the duels at the end. It's 2v2, 2 fights taken, 2 fights lost. YFP win another round, and now they're just 1 away from winning the map.
And maybe YFP just started to think about retaking here, but look at the cyber cages here that have been deployed by Thief. They want to actually get into the site as the hit comes in behind those. Sim checks market, gets up in that cyber cage, and is buying time there for YFP to get into the backside and maybe fight for a little bit. Sim with the overdrive going. Of course, this is TSM's last chance to stay alive in this map. Gimon with a TP now. Set up that off angle as Sim gets tucked as well towards his left-hand side. Flashpoint thrown up. Thief has been so good this map, and that was no exception that moment. Penny has an overdrive of his own, but it's going to be Physic yet again. Thief chilling in the smoke. Buys his time, swings out. Seven's going to deal with him, but the trade is going to be there now. 1-for-1s across the map, leaves us in a 2 versus 2, but Jake has the timing to shut the door on TSM. And ultimately, this is going to be a dominant 13-7 win for YFP.
Yeah, YFP have had Jake on a couple of those rounds. Just this late lurk kind of presence coming in during the retake pays off there. YFP look fantastic. And frankly, I thought TSM were playing pretty well. I mean, we said it 78 times in the second half because it's just the case. But when you're up 4-3 in a round and then Thief wins 3 gun duels in a row, like, it's tough. It's tough to win. When you're playing post plants well and you're down to 2v2s, but YFP are just beating you in the duels, tough to win. Like, I think TSM were playing pretty well on that map, but YFP just looking electric, to be honest. Players look fantastic, and they had some really cool set plays when they were on attack as well.
Yeah, really impressed by that. YFP showing if they need to play post plant, they can do that extremely well. Great start to the series here. That was a TSM map pick, so that's not a great sign. Again, for this more new-look TSM team, we'll see if they can take enough of a breather in the break to have a better showing in our second map. We'll be back after this with more, of course, of our first game of the day.